Board of Appeals is now called to order. Will you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kristen, roll call.
Laura?
Here.
Sorry, Laura.
Here.
Jeff Clark is absent. Kristen here. Chad?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
And our first alternate, Jeff.
Jeff, here, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, but can I remind everyone to make sure your microphones are on and lowered so those that are watching at home can hear us?
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Does anyone here have a conflict of interest with the case this evening? None? Is there any public comment not related to the case tonight? None? Kristen, communications not related to the case tonight?
There are no communications that are not related to the case.
Okay, then we can move into the hearing of the case. The hearing will proceed as follows. First, the applicant will present their case. Next, the zoning administrator, Sarah Coprivo, will present the official records of the case. Then we will read any communications received regarding the case, followed by public comment. After public comment, I will close the public hearing and the board will go into closed session for deliberation and findings of fact. Please remember that while the board is in closed session, members of the audience may not speak unless called upon by the board to answer a question. After the board completes its deliberation, I will reopen the meeting and the board will render its decision. I would also like to remind everyone that during the conduct of a hearing, all comments shall be directed to the chairperson. So tonight we have the continuation of case number ZBA 2026-01, requested by Ronnie Salum. Ronnie Salum, I'm sorry. On behalf of Laura Kolinsky-Mazel, parcel number 05-14-355-012-30, a residentially zoned R1 parcel located at 567 Yellow Birch Drive, Cowayden, Michigan, for a 50-foot front yard variance to construct a single-family dwelling in the required 50-foot wetland setback.
Hello again. Should I just summarize what we talked about last time? What we're
Sure,
asking?
sure. And then if you have any additional information
Yeah.
that you want to point out, that would be great. And could you make sure your microphone is close to your mouth?
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Can-
Got it? Good. All right. So to summarize, what we were trying to get approved was a variance to the ordinance of the 50-foot limit to any wetland. This lot that we're trying to purchase is and build a family home on is within that 50 feet, rendering the lot almost unbuildable in any portion of the land. The placement of the home was approved by Eagle. We have the permit in hand now. So we minimize, originally, we've been going through the whole process, following the rules of the whole process. So we started with Eagle, placed the home in line with all the other homes along the shore, which was in some uplands, but it was disturbing too much wetland. So Eagle said, no, that's not going to work. So we moved it back. And Eagle then said, no, that's still disturbing too much. So we moved it as far back while meeting what we could do for the drainage, for the turning radius of the driveway, for a green belt in the front of the lot. So the house isn't sitting right on the road. And for the minimum distances of the well, with the 50-foot minimum distance to the septic tanks requirement, that's pretty much where we agreed with Eagle to place the home. So it's in majority of the houses in uplands, but it is encroaching in the wetlands about 6 feet on the west and south side. But besides that, the disturbance was minimal and Eagle was okay with that. So last time I think we concluded waiting for the permit in hand, which we now have.
Right. And we did receive a copy of that.
You did?
Yes.
Okay, great. And there were some questions about maybe the drainage, the culvert. I think those were clarified by the realtor and the owner. It was installed by the association that is now no longer in existence, but it was because Yellow Birch Drive has wetlands on the other side, and when it rains hard, it washes out the road. So they put a culvert underneath the road, and then a culvert along this property, the subject property, down to the lake. And I actually was there yesterday, and it was pretty wet, and it was working very nicely, pushing all the water down to the lake, so keeping it dry. So that's who put the culvert in. We didn't know at the time last time. And then as far as the rain management, that was the other question. I think that came up. I talked to our engineer, how he's going to handle all the hydrology, and he said the house won't change the hydrology. I actually have his verbiage here. I can read it. In the event of overflow, the roof line of the structure will be guttered and diverted into dry wells. So on the south side of the property, there's a dry well is like a hole in the ground with rocks in it, and the water gets diverted into it, and then it naturally seeps into the wetlands as it would have if the house wasn't there. So the rainwater gets filtered through the wetlands and eventually into the lake, like all the rainwater would. And it says the driveway will have green belts for infiltration on the sides as well. So meaning we're going to have grass to filter the rainwater as well. It's all going to eventually go through the sand underneath and end up into the lake. So, I mean, whether the house was there or not, it shouldn't change any of the hydrology, if that makes sense. I think that's all that was added. If there's any questions, I can answer to the case.
Does the board have any questions?
No, I don't.
I don't have a question.
Excuse me, is this site plan that we have with the new Eagle requirements, you mentioned that you had to set it, keep moving it back.
Yeah,
Is this site plan that we have,
correct.
does
Yeah.
that take that into consideration?
Yes, it hasn't changed from the beginning. I just didn't explain last meeting that
Okay, it's the same, I didn't know.
it's the same, yeah.
Okay.
That's the site plan that we submitted the first time and has been approved by Eagle.
And next question is, that drain pipe, that's quite a little creek you got running across there.
Yes,
That I could see where it went under the road and came out on your property.
yeah.
I don't see it on here, but where does that go then? It comes under the road and you can see it kind of going across your
Yeah.
property.
Correct. We're gonna have the driveway just south of it, so it shouldn't affect it. If anything,
Does it go on your neighbor's property or does it go through your
no,
property?
it only goes through the property that we're trying to purchase. It doesn't go into the neighbor's property at all. So that shouldn't change either. And I'm not 100% sure where the driveway is gonna sit. I think it's gonna be south of that creek that you're talking about.
It's not where you have it now. You've got kind of a start of a driveway there now.
There's no, that's the neighbor's driveway. That's not the driveway for this property. That driveway's a construction temporary driveway.
Oh, it's a temporary driveway.
Yeah, that's not this property. This property doesn't have any driveway on it today.
It looked like somebody had started to build a driveway and that's what
Yeah, that's the construction for the property north of this property. Yeah,
Okay.
no, there's no driveway.
Okay, I saw, it's hard to tell where the lines were, so I thought that. was it.
Yeah, but you're right, the
Okay.
creek does go into this property.
Yes, I know that.
And we're gonna have to create a driveway either next to it to the left, like south of it, or we'll have to put just a culvert to go over it so it doesn't affect the current culvert or rain. So it just keeps flowing. So if we did have to go over that, we would protect the culvert and put a new metal one to go put a driveway over it so it doesn't change.
And that's going to be engineered by somebody who'll make it big enough to,
Oh yeah, it'll
Under-
be a continuation. Whatever the culvert is now, we'll keep the same size tube and go to the existing perpendicular culvert going to the lake.
okay. I guess
Okay.
for the moment, anyhow. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Sarah, do you have anything to add?
In your packet from the last packet just had the Eagle permit and then the additional documents that the applicant provided. And so Eagle did approve the filling of the wetlands for the construction of the house. And he already mentioned it, but it's the same site plan that we have and that we're looking at and reviewing. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then also the issuance of the easement, you know, they have their own set of rules and we have our own set of rules. So as I mentioned at the last meeting, while that helps maybe some of your criteria and figuring out some of the items, that one of the responses should not be, well, Eagle did it, so we have to. You know, that's not a true statement. You have your own book of rules that you're basing your decision on. But having that may help you make your decision as you're going through the criteria. So, and this is a continuation of the last hearing. So you don't have to restate anything that you already did or make sure that it's on the record. It still is. It's still a part of this case. It's still a part of the hearing. I'm sure you will have some of the same conversations and talk about some of the same things, but just so that you know, anything you said or the public submitted in writing previously, that's all included in the record for this case.
Thank you. Board, do you have any questions for Sarah?
No.
I don't have any questions for Sarah.
Okay, then let's move on to public comment. Is there anybody here who would like to make a statement?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you go up to the microphone and please state your name clearly into the microphone.
Hi, my name is David Glass, and I own the property to the north. I want to clarify a couple things, and thank you for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and just so people at home can hear too. It's
Okay.
Thank you.
Like I said, I own the property to the north. I wanted to clear a couple things. I'm not against anybody building. I think it's great. When I applied for permits, I was given a very strict envelope of where we can build, what we can do, what we can't do. There was another neighbor to the north of me. There was a specific envelope. He could not move an inch outside of this box. Nobody wants to look outside of their home within the rules of the township and see another home that was able to be built closer to the water. At the last meeting, my letter was not read. It didn't go on the record, so I wanted to read it today, so it did get on the record. There is a culvert that we've spoken about here that goes under Yellow Birch. At the last meeting, different than today's, the builder and the applicant were unsure where this culvert was. They couldn't identify if the culvert under Yellow Birch reached the subject property or a different piece of land. I want to clear that up. The culvert goes under Yellow Birch. It comes out on the subject property. The culvert does a 45 and it goes to my property. And I'm left to deal with this water. This is not my water. This isn't rainwater from across Yellow Birch from my house. This is from the subdivision, the neighborhood up there, all the way to the vacant lot. The water then travels to the water. There is an extensive amount of water that flows through this property. With the 45 that the culvert does, I'm flooded and I'm forced to deal with it. I managed that water because there was nobody else to deal with it. The neighbor, the seller of this property, was not interested in talking about it. I wasn't interested in a lawsuit. I bit the bullet and just dealt with it myself. I want to emphasize there is an extensive amount of water that flows through these properties. Like I said, I do not object to somebody building over there. I want to point out that south of the subject property is another vacant lot. These people will then see the precedent that we are setting with a variance, and why can't the next guy get a variance? The property to the south of that is completely surrounded by water. The house is dilapidated and old. They are here 2 weeks out of the year. They will eventually sell. Somebody will tear down that house and be left with a tiny little footprint of where they can build because of the water and because of the wetlands. And I'm not sure if we're talking about the difference between wetland or wetlands. I don't know if there's a difference, but these properties to the south of me are very wet. They are lakes surrounding these properties. Going down Golden Beach, they are flooded. Like I said, the current water solution for this subject property is to divert the water to my property. I don't know how that's legal, how that's fair, how that's allowed. I've just sort of taken it on the chin to deal with it myself. If we're building houses and dealing with drainage, there should be a plan to manage their own water. Take it to the lake, do what they do well north of me and funnel this to the lake and have large rivers that flow down to the lake. I have a lot of notes here, excuse me. At the last meeting, I'm not sure if I said this, but I want to make this clear. At the last meeting, it was very clear that they were going to they were going to push the water to the neighbor's property while not calling out the neighbor's property, mine. They were saying that they would deal with it that way to push it off of their property in a sense as their way to manage the water. I just can't see how that could be okay. I'd like to know that by putting a crawl or a rat wall in this space would not further impact my property. That water that now travels through that property would then have to find another path to get to places, should go to the lake, that it's not going to negatively affect my property. I'm not looking to manage a single additional ounce of water. I just don't think that that's fair. And then, like I said, there's a wet piece of property to the south of the subject. What are we going to do when they come and say, I want to build on this footprint? I haven't seen the plans for the subject. I wanted to point out that sometimes we apply for permits based on what we want to build and ask for variances based on what we want to build rather than what's available for the property. The property is wet. There is no question about it. The property to the south of that is wet. The property east of Yellow Birch, adjacent to this property, is wet. These are lakes over there. And I think that all of that should be managed where they are. It should not continue to be pushed over to my property. Something needs to be dealt with this culvert. Applicant did mention accurately that there is a significant amount of water that is pouring out of this culvert. Does a 45 onto my property? I'm not sure who put this in, whether it was association or not. I do know that there are drainage pipes above grade on the subject property that is trying to manage the existing water to move it to the lake. I am currently flooded out by the water that flows through this property. And I just don't see how that's possible. Again, I want to point out, I'm not against somebody building there. I would love to have a great neighbor, but the water is a problem. And I'm being forced to deal with it. This was long-winded. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about it. I think that's it. I thank you. Is there any questions for me?
Yes, did you say you were 2 lots over to the north?
Negative. I am adjacent to the subject property. I am next to, I'm the house under construction with this, I believe,
The house immediately to the north.
the house immediately to the north that I believe the gentleman asked about a temporary driveway. That's a little dirt driveway that they use to get to the rear of my property. And that is right next to the culvert. Again, the culvert is not on my property, but the culvert points to my property. And then the amount of volume.
Does it end there? If I may?
Yeah.
Where is, I see the culvert, but
Yeah.
I didn't see the end of it. Does it end right at your property or does it go to the lake or?
Yeah, so the metal culvert
Yeah.
that goes under Yellow Birch terminates just after Yellow Birch,
I kind of suspected that. Okay.
right? It just dumps out onto my property. Now, I have installed some drainage to manage this, but I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with the volume. And I shouldn't have had to manage any of it. It's coming from another property, and it's forced and directed to my property. And that's what I have to say. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak as well?
My name is Deb McGinnis, and I live in the last house on Golden Beach since 1987. And what David's talking about with the volume of water I've been witnessing now since 1987, okay? I wanted to first say thank you to the board for tabling the first meeting and the fact that you gave thoughtful consideration. Wetlands are really important, and I feel that this needs to be thought about. As David said, the precedent that could be set if mitigation is not the same as the natural wetlands. No matter how much sand you dump in or whatever, it's not the same. The natural sponge effect of the wetlands, you've got the water quality as it flows into the bay, and of course with Grand Traverse Bay and Torch Lake in our township. Those are two pretty important pieces of water. The flooding is considerable, and the wetlands enhance the water quality, it purifies it, and it even stabilizes the shoreline sometimes, although right now with the melt that we've had, there are some pretty big craters on the shoreline. The natural habitat for all the critters, whether the birds are nesting or the spring peepers are out peeping, I think we need our natural wetlands. And I just appeal to the board, you guys are setting a precedent. And as David mentioned, as other people want to build, if you set a precedent, then we're going to have more things that we're going to have to deal with. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I will close the public hearing and we will go into a closed hearing with the board. Oh,
We did, do you want me to make note that we got a letter?
oh, sure, did I forget
'Cause
that?
Yeah, that wasn't, we did get something regarding this case. We each got a copy on our desk. It will go into the file as public record. It is from the property owner directly to the south of the parcel in question. And Sarah, do I need to read it or should I just make sure everyone on our board has had a chance to look it over?
Yeah, everybody got a copy on their desk. You don't have to read it into the record.
Okay, so just
It
make sure.
it will
everyone
be
got
a
it.
part of the record.
Yep, and it will be put in.
Yes.
Sorry, thank you.
I'll put the findings of fact up on the,
Okay.
and they'll be the same ones that are in your packet. It was the start of what we worked on last meeting. It still can be changed and updated, but just kind of picking up from where we were.
Okay, so you're going to put up the general findings of fact. I think they are in your packet. Is everybody good with that, or did somebody have anything they wanted to add to it?
I have nothing to add from our last conversation.
At some point, I want to talk about the water. I don't know whether that goes into finding a fact or whether that'll be after we're done.
Okay, let's, I think that's probably someplace else in here.
Okay, I just wanted to, okay, fine.
Okay, and then moving on to criteria A.
It's bigger.
I think we determined that strict compliance with the setback will eliminate the building, any building area on the site, and that this criteria has been met. Okay. We discussed B a little bit, but we didn't really make any final determinations. So let's look at criteria B. The variance requested is the minimum variance needed to provide substantial relief to the applicant and be fair to other property owners and be consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. So does anybody want to start?
Is this where you want,
Yeah, do you, I'm wondering if anybody has some findings of fact or something they want to discuss too.
I want to discuss the water issue and I don't know exactly where it fits.
Well, I guess fair to other property owners would be applicable here if you're talking about Mr. Glass's concern?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you?
Okay, I'm going to tell you my story, and if this isn't the proper, I think that the culvert is not going to get cut. A culvert, a 12 or an 18-inch culvert. I live at the end of McLaughlin Road. The wetlands across the street are from Agamemnon Golf Course. And when we get a storm, you could paddle up my driveway with a canoe. The ordinance that we have, there used to be a creek like what we're talking about between my house and the person to the south. The township, the planning committee, you have to put 10 feet from the, I think 10 or 20 feet from the property line to build a house. But you can put a cement slab within 6 inches of the property line, which is what my neighbor did. And I found this out afterwards, and that's why I'm extremely concerned about what I'm talking about now. So now when that rains, I can have a 4-foot wide, 12-inch deep river coming down my driveway. Thank goodness whoever built my home raised my garage up enough so that it will split and go either to the left or the right. And the neighbor to the north of me, when we did some surveying work after an incident in my family, I found out his cement slab is within less than a foot of the property line. So on both sides of me, I get drainage from the Agamemnon area, which is much like what these people are going through from that big swamp. I mean, this was a creek that was running there today. It wasn't just a little, it was a lot of water. And I understand fully what these people are understanding or are saying about water. And culverts don't do it. You need a ditch, a stream bed to go down through there. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about mine, but I'm here tonight to, I can appreciate, that was the first thing that I saw when I went over there today, because last time it was kind of snowy and I couldn't see anything. But today you could see that. So I just have that is a big issue, and these folks that spoke out have a right to be concerned. I guess I'll leave it at that, but I understand their problem, and it is a problem, because you have to live with that forever. And a culvert is not going to fix it. I've went with the County Road Commission, they're going to redo Torch Lake Drive next year. I hope they're going to do next. Mr. Bob, are you listening? Next year, they're going to do Torch Lake Drive, resurfacing it. And I've asked them in McLaughlin Road, they have an 18-inch culvert right now. And I'm asking for a 36-inch to go underneath McLaughlin Road, to go down to the, I guess it's the creek down there. I can't think of the name of it. It's down 4 or 5 houses for me to go out to Torch Lake, because the water is humongous.
Mhm.
So it's an issue that you folks, if you don't live with something like that, you need to know is real. And the storms we get anymore, we don't get nice soaking rains. We get 3 inches at a time or some humongous quantity, and that overwhelms any culvert. And I guess I've said what I'm going to say.
So I appreciate those issues.
I'm sorry, I kind of
Very-
overloaded you, but
Very much. But I'm a little concerned that that's really not what our job is here
Okay.
tonight.
okay, then.
I mean, it's the responsibility of the board to consider the requested variance strictly on the applicant's ability to meet the 4 criteria to prove a practical difficulty. I don't deny that the water is a big issue, but that is something, I think it was addressed in Eagle's application form, warning the applicant that increased runoff onto adjacent properties are subject to civil damage litigation. And so if the applicant isn't, builds this home and doesn't handle the water runoff property, the neighbors have recourse. And I also believe it may be subject to section 5.6 stormwater management in our ordinance. And any subsequent issues would be directed to the zoning administrator or township board to try to get some remedy. But that's not our decision here tonight. It's based only on a dimensional setback variance based on these 4 criteria. And I think trying to solve a hypothetical problem with runoff, and hypothetical in that what's going to happen, not that
It's
it
not
isn't a
hypothetical,
problem, but
I understand
it's
what
a-
you're saying.
well,
it's,
And the other piece of that, we have to remember, our board, our township doesn't control the wetlands, we control the setbacks from the wetlands. So that's a big difference. You know, we have to remember that. We can't.
right. So I would like to propose a finding of fact. That would be that the proposed location was determined after consultation with Eagle and consideration of health department and design constraints.
Will you say it again?
The proposed location was determined after consultation with Eagle and consideration of health department and design constraints. And then I don't believe, this came up last time, so I kind of added this to my thoughts between meetings, but that moving the proposed structure, excuse me, would not reduce the variance request. It is, I mean, they can move it 10 feet and they'll still need a 0 setback.
So my finding of fact, I am fine with both of those. Mine was the kind of looking more at I don't really feel it's the minimum variance needed. I questioned the size of the house, the garages, the hot tub and sauna I just don't feel it's the minimum setback. I don't know how we want to phrase that. Minimum variance needed.
Okay, well, let's
provide-
take this separately, because I agree that the hot tub and sauna is not necessary for the owner to use the property for a permitted purpose.
That was worded far nicer than, far cleaner than what I was trying to say. Crisp.
So that's
There you go.
half of what you
Yes,
said.
yeah.
Correct? Okay.
Mhm.
So then let's discuss, because the other half, the main structure.
Yeah, because they need a variance to build, but the criteria B is the variance requested is the minimum variance needed to provide substantial relief to the applicant and be fair to other property owners. And they didn't, in what they submitted, they haven't proven to me that that's the minimum variance that they need. And I don't know if we also want to talk about just if in there is also kind of like the spirit of our ordinance where we talk about protecting our waterways, different things. That's kind of where I was leaning towards it when I was finding my fact.
Okay. Let's stick with minimum variance for the
Okay.
structure.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this and I guess to determine that, we need to, I mean, what would you say is the minimum variance they need? 10 feet? What would that give them as a building envelope? Would it be reasonable? I don't know. I'm looking at this drawing going, well, you can, because of the odd shape of the wetland, if you take anything off,
Right, but
it'll still make an extremely small building envelope.
Given that they need a variance, I do see that that house, I don't think it's overwhelming. If you look at the green hatching that they have there, you're gonna move it back a little bit or make it a little bit smaller. They're still in that zone of variance. And I think
That's how I was seeing
that's
it.
kind of what I agree with, I guess.
Kristen, I think we had talked about this before and that the zoning ordinance in section 3.4.3 has a minimum ground floor area of 960 for a house. And then the minimum horizontal dimensions is 20 foot by 20 foot. So if you wanted to build a house, it has to meet those minimum requirements. And so depending on what the square footage of the house and the dimensions of the house, is that extreme for that? We've looked at that for other cases, saying that your house is too big basically for the lot.
So I'm looking at the drawing thinking that if you added a 10-foot setback from the wetland, you'd still be making it nearly impossible to build on the lot.
yeah, I just, so what is the square footage of this house? What does it come out to?
Is that 3,360 square feet, I think, with the house garage? That's what it says on the,
I think it goes back to the question, they need a setback to build, 100%. Are they asking for the minimum required setback? I mean, and I'm sorry I'm jumping forward, but with the hot tub and boardwalk, I think we have to look at the whole thing, not just the house. And they're not requesting a minimum variance. And I think it kind of goes back to what people want to build versus what can be built on the lot. And given we know that it's wetland, it's going to be impacting a lot, is this the minimum variance that, are they asking for the minimum variance?
And for this criteria, it is just a majority straw poll. So,
Right.
if Kristen stands alone on that, she doesn't have to agree with your findings.
I mean,
for that, but-
it's my finding
Okay.
of fact that it's not the minimum variance. It doesn't,
Okay.
it's not end all.
Okay.
And so I guess I would ask for this then to kind of go through and ask each individual which grouping they agree with? Because I'm contradicting obviously in here. because I
Right, well, we
added-
have two contradict,
Right. The bottom two here are ones that Kristen had mentioned, and the first two were the ones that you had. So I can't leave all of them in there to make this criteria be met or not met.
okay.
So I don't know if you
Well,
want
let's
to
see,
take them one by one.
should we see if there's any other?
Sure.
Does anybody else have findings of fact?
I have nothing on that. No.
Okay,
I think the statement, the sauna and hot tub are not necessary. I would like that cleaned up a little bit. I think it's more, are not necessary for the, like, permitted purpose, or I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
how we would word that. 'Cause that just sounds.
I have hot tub and sauna are not necessary for the owner to use the property for a permitted purpose. Is that,
That's, yes.
That's good.
okay. So can everybody read and see that? Or do I need to read it out loud again? Let's talk about
I think we can all. agree
item
with
one.
One, we can all agree, correct? And keep it up there?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes,
David?
Yes.
Okay. 2, moving the proposed structure would not reduce the variance requested.
The variance, or should it be a variance? It's nitpicking a little bit, but they're still gonna need a
Wait,
variance. even if you-
Chad, I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna change, would not reduce the variance
To
to
a-
of variance, because it might reduce the variance we're seeing right now a little bit.
What about the need for a variance?
Yes.
Do you
Okay,
like that better?
yeah,
Because that structure,
Yeah.
wherever it got, they would have to have a variance, correct?
okay.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
number 2. Jeff?
yes,
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, the sauna and hot tub are not necessary for the owner to use the property for a permitted person. David?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
yes,
Yes.
Okay. And the 4th one, the size of the house and garage are not the minimum necessary.
May I just, that is a 2-car garage, right? Not a 3-car garage. Is that,
I believe it's,
I
It's in
believe
the
it's a
here.
3-car
It's in-
garage.
It's
Is-
in the,
is it,
I'll let you look at it, yeah.
I see it, but I keep seeing it, but I don't see the,
Lines or not. I just know it comes in this.
I know where it comes in, yeah.
It's-
I just wondered, is it a 2-car or 3-car garage? Is there a picture of it here?
If you bear with me, I can show you in the packet, but
Well, I
just-
probably have it, then maybe I just, it's a 3-car garage.
Did you find it?
Yes.
Okay.
Will that make a big difference, would it? If it was a 2-car garage and you moved it back, it would move the whole, well, just 10, it would be 10, 15 feet maybe, yeah.
Yeah, my thought on that is that it won't
It
change the fact
doesn't
that they
change
need
at all.
they need a 0 variance, or, 50-foot variance on that.
It's a big garage for that, yeah. Of course, if you had the 10-foot, then you take another garage, that's gonna be 25 feet of the 50-foot they required, right?
And I think it
I'm
goes
sorry,
back to
say that.
is, oh, go ahead.
Well, we suggested once 10 feet, I think you mentioned 10 feet, then you take the garage, which is what, another 15 feet, I would think about? That's 25 feet back, so does that make a difference?
I don't think it
Yeah.
would. I think they would still need the variance. And
Well, they'll need a variance, but it wouldn't be as
Well, I-
big a variance. I'm just talking.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that on this lot, you would need a variance to build. But our criteria states the variance requested is the minimum variance needed to provide substantial relief to the applicant and to be fair to the other property owners and be
Yeah,
consistent.
you talking to the mic?
Sorry, the variance requested is the minimum variance needed to provide substantial relief to the applicant and be fair to other property owners and be consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. It's a beautiful home, but is it the minimum variance needed to provide substantial relief to them, to enjoy the house, to enjoy it up here? And is it fair to other property owners and be consistent with the spirit of the ordinance? The spirit of our ordinance talks about people have the right to build a single-family house, right? A dwelling to build and live up here, to protect the natural beauty, to protect the waterways. And I think it goes back, sorry, I was traveling all night. I got in really late. I'm having a hard time forming my thoughts. Is it a necessity to have attached garage? It's nice, but is it a necessity? I just question whether, I'm struggling. If you guys want to help me, I'm struggling. No, I'm struggling with it's the minimum variance needed to provide them substantial relief.
Personally, I don't think it's a necessity to have a garage. It's nice, but it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Right. And when I too also, the first time I saw this property, it was covered in snow, so I took advantage and went back when we had some snow melt. It is a very wet lot, and when I walked it, I thought about the house plan that they have proposed, and I thought, is this, and again, we don't control that, but we do control if it's the minimum variance, and is this the right house to be building on this lot? When you look at, there's a similar lot up on Michigan Trail, and those people built up their cars, their garage is underneath, the house is above. So there's room for the wetland to flow, the water. I'm not, help me, is it the minimum variance?
If you look at the minimum size of a house, if they built as small as they could, it would definitely be less. I even looked at moving that garage to the north where that one orange area is that seems to be buildable.
Right.
And then the garage is not in the wetlands. It would be on the other side, maybe a 2-car garage, 1-car garage. Perhaps not the minimum, but I don't know about their family size or anything as well either. So, that's kind of their personal choice. That doesn't help much, does it?
Well, I kind of feel that Eagle has, decided, given their, thumbs up on this plan and that they're comfortable with the amount of wetlands it disturbs. And I'm kind of feeling, I don't know, my opinion, everybody's welcome to agree, which I think a few people do, is that they would still need a zero. And it's kind of not, they would still need a zero setback. Even if they had a 1-inch setback, it would greatly reduce the ability to use this lot. And since Eagle has, given a green light to this floor plan, I'm okay with it.
Well, it's hard to build a house like that, a nice home like that and not have an attached garage. That's kind of tough. I don't know if it needs to be a 3-car garage, but a 4-car garage would be better in my book, but
Mine too.
you can't have enough garage space. So I'd hate, I guess I don't know if we're going to gain enough by trying to move the garage somewhere else. We're still in the setback area.
Kristen, could you say it's not the minimum, but it's acceptable? Are you,
Well,
I know we have certain language here.
yeah, for me, to me, it's not the minimum variance. But we don't have to agree at that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be helpful to just say go down and say keep 4 in, take 4 out, and
Yeah, that's,
and I'm fine with that.
I think we were about to that point. Okay. Kristen? Yes, I assume keep it in? Keep 4 in?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Chad?
I would say no.
And I say no. So I guess it stays in at this point. I think when we vote on whether they meet the criteria or not, everybody can weigh the findings of fact, one against each other and decide.
Yeah, I mean, with this criteria saying that this is not the minimum necessary, this criteria can't be met. Criteria B, like how we
Okay.
have up here in A, this criteria has been met, this criteria has not been met because it's not the minimum necessary.
Okay.
Is there anything additional that anyone wants to add to this finding?
No, I just think that if we're going to say that, we have to say what the minimum necessary is. What setback is the minimum necessary? I think we're confusing,
I think we're confused.
pardon?
I think I'm confused on this, yes. Exactly what we're.
Wait, I mean, what's the minimum necessary
Well,
setback?
yeah, what
Give
is
them
the
some
minimum?
guidelines so they can
Okay.
build. Don't just say, this doesn't meet this isn't
Yeah, I
minimum
guess.
in my opinion,
I mean, are you going to rely on section 3.4.3 that talks about the minimum ground floor and the minimum dwelling dimensions? I mean, to say that's the minimum,
Probably, yes.
or to say that a 3-car garage is not the minimum?
Let me look up 3.4.
It just doesn't change the need for the setback.
Well, I mean, it would be hard to know until you saw the drawing. I mean, I guess you could say maybe that instead of having a 0 setback in the wetland, you could have a 5-foot setback from the edge of the wetland. I mean, I agree, it's still gonna be in the wetland setback to be able to use the property.
Right, whatever they build is in the wetlands, there's a setback, but our criteria says the minimum variance needed. And I don't feel it's the minimum variance needed.
So, but that's my issue here is what is the,
What
if you're saying it's
Well-
not the minimum, then tell them
Yeah, yeah.
what the minimum variance
Well,
needed is.
So let me, so I guess we would go off of 3.4, which is,
The section I was referencing on page 33 in that table, this bottom table on that page. It's under the second purple or light blue line near the bottom.
so I see, Sarah, I see where it talks about the minimum lot width, but I don't
Yes.
see where,
So under principal structures,
I don't,
that's blue. And then minimum ground
Ground floor is 960
It might
square
be
feet.
gray.
yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, minimum ground floor area is 960 square feet. Minimum horizontal dimensions is 20 feet by 20 feet. Maximum height 35 feet. I'm like very open for discussion on this. I just don't feel comfortable not talking through this because that's one of our criterias. So if you guys have your
Well,
book, are you looking?
It'd be
at
nice to know if
I-
gave them a
yeah.
10-foot setback, what the buildable area, the building envelope would be.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
If you,
With the-
if you gave them a 40-foot variance, say, so they had a 10-foot setback from the wetlands, it would be nice to know what the actual building envelope would be.
Mhm.
But then does that really make a difference? 10 feet?
Pardon?
Does that really make a difference then really in all this though? 10 feet?
Well,
is-
see, that's kind of how,
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it
I-
because,
I'm
because,
rethinking this, yes, I agree, yeah.
because the,
And that's where I'm trying to get, that's why I want this discussion.
okay. So,
It just isn't that big a deal. To try to come up with a minimum, we're not gonna save that much. It was like taking. one
right,
garage off.
and then I
It's-
feel by trying to do this,
Yeah.
we're sort of doing Eagle's job.
Right, yeah, right. I
Chad and Jeff, do you guys have any weigh in on this?
Not on that, we've just discussed that as far as, I don't think,
Can you talk into the mic?
I don't believe that reducing the imprint of the structure is gonna make the variance that much difference. I really don't. I mean, I don't know how to formulate all that, but it doesn't appear to me that it would.
So safely saying that if they came to us with a 960 square foot ground floor area, they would still be asking for a setback. We all agree with that because
Yes.
it's in the
Right,
yes.
wetland.
Yes.
If you look at the spirit of the ordinance, would that building envelope being pushed towards Yellow Birch Drive be better? Would it be better to have a setback that interferes with the road rather than a wetland?
Well,
If we're talking about the spirit, and we're spirit right now, I know we're talking variance, but it's also about a wetland.
Right, they overlap. You know what I mean? We have to talk about them in the same thing because it's maintaining the health of the waterways And there's a lot of natural constraints.
Well, yeah, I'm not seeing it based on this map because you still have to have the septic. And it has to be so far from the well and I'm just not seeing where you're giving them a reasonable building envelope if you impose
A stricter setback.
a stricter
Right.
I
setback,
would agree with
yes.
that, yeah. What are you
And
looking for here?
And it does say that the variance requested is the minimum variance needed to provide substantial relief, not that the house could be without a garage or and therefore that would make it smaller. Anybody else want to weigh in?
I would agree with this. I would change my vote. Wait, since we haven't, or can I do it now?
You can do
Yeah.
it, of course
I
you
would
can.
Yeah, we're still discussing. We're trying
Yeah.
to get to
Well,
a point
I
where.
just, now that we're just not gaining enough in all this.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense that we're
If you gave them a
Yeah.
1-inch setback, you would reduce the building envelope so much that they,
So,
yeah.
they need the 0 setback.
okay, and then the second half of that, though, that's for the applicant, but then, and be fair to other property owners and be consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. Walk me through that now.
Okay, so as far as other property owners, there's plenty of other houses. It's not, I think the only issue is the water, and that's the water, the runoff, stormwater management, and drainage. And, you know, unfortunately, I don't know who owns all that property across. You said the whole property is being drained through the one lot.
I
But,
don't know that, but I know a lot of it.
you know, that's an
Yeah.
issue that's outside of what we're here to determine tonight.
Okay, all right.
It's something that if they decide to go ahead with this, they're going to either have to address it by handling all the water, or if they, you know, I mean,
That's what I was trying to get. The water is not then our issue to deal with. The
I
drainage.
don't believe it is. I believe it's
Okay, well,
something
then
that is addressed in a different place. We're here to talk about a dimensional variance, not.
Okay,
But then, like, in the spirit of our ordinance, we talk about maintaining the waterways and, like, help me through that part then.
Okay, so,
You know, we talk about like.
no, I agree, but I think that we have an objective to try to protect the environment. But I also think the key word in our ordinance is a sound balance between human development activities and the environment. And I think that not allowing somebody to use a lot for a permitted purpose is not balancing, you know, the rights of a lot owner or balancing development.
very well stated.
I would agree with that.
Okay, and then the other thing you said, spirit of the ordinance. So I think that kind of addresses both. The,
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
okay.
It's hard because of the natural constraints, and I realize that people should be able to build on their lots. But I also,
Well, it's not his lot yet.
that's key. Yeah. It's just hard, yeah,
So Dave changed his mind to remove 4.
so you want to take 4 out and just
Right.
keep 1, 2, and 3.
I get, that's what we're voting on, right?
Yes.
Yes, I would say
This
that,
is-
you know.
Okay.
I don't see what, it just doesn't gain enough to make it.
Does anyone else want to change their vote after the conversation, one way or the other? Okay,
Doesn't
so you
sound-
have 3 to remove it.
I will say, yes, remove it.
Remove it?
Yeah.
So then this criteria can be met.
Okay.
Any further discussion on that item?
Okay. Um, Then let's move on to C. The need for the variance is due to unique circumstances peculiar to the property and not generally applicable in the area or to other properties in the same zoning district. So I think I had the extent of yeah, it's still there. The extent of the wetlands is unique in that it eliminates a reasonable building envelope when the 50-foot setback is applied. And I think we all discussed that this has been met. Are we all still in, this criteria has been met? Are we all still in agreement on that?
I am.
It's the second part now, not generally applicable in the area or to other properties in the same zoning district. This whole area is a wetland. When I first started looking at it, it was, you got swamp all over in the topographic maps. So I'm gonna have to say
Yeah,
that
so
it's,
You're
think
saying it's not
I-
unique then, or?
I'm
Or-
saying there might be, I haven't surveyed the area, but there very well could be a couple of other properties, or there could be 200 other properties, but it's unique in that, at least this is the first time we have run across an issue where the wetlands completely negates any, the wetland setback completely eliminates any buildable area. And people do have a right to build a primary residence on an R1 lot. And so if this is, in my mind, this is a situation where if we keep running into these, then we go to the planning commission and say, you got to do something about the zoning ordinance. We can't have everybody coming in for this, but this is the first time, so I don't think we're at that point where we can say that this is a unique case in terms of what we've had to deal with so far.
Well, it's unique in that way, yes.
I mean, it's a complete wetland. I mean, why?
Because the zoning board made the rules not to be able to build in wetlands.
The planning
The
commission.
planning commission, I'm sorry, I get, I mean, they
We don't
passed
make
it.
the rules. We just help, we help break them when there's 4 good reasons to do it.
You know, they had to have a reason for doing that. And now we're saying, well, maybe you don't have a good reason for doing it.
Well,
Am I
no,
misinterpreting?
there can be a reason, but the whole purpose of our board is to identify when there should be an exception made to the ordinance, when something is not fair to a property owner.
Yeah, I think that to extend on what Laura's saying is that, you know, this is unique and why the ZBA is here, right? There's a regulation that's in the ordinance basically making this property unbuildable. There may be others, the one to the south may be another property that runs into the same situation, but it's
Sounds like
related to the wetlands, to the size of the lot, to the location of the lot. And so just because there's wetlands on a property or multiple properties within the township doesn't mean that there'll be the same situation where there's not a buildable area. But if we start seeing a bunch of applications coming in where we're finding that lots that exist and exist legally are now being basically unbuildable due to our regulations, we may need to look at some sort of a change in the language for that or some other built-in exception.
The planning commission would need to do that.
Right. And so we track it. I mean, we track all the ZBA decisions and look to see if regulations need to be changed. But, when we're writing the zoning ordinance and the rules in the zoning ordinance, we're looking at the township broadly. We don't get down to every single parcel to
I
see,
can appreciate that.
to,
But do we set a precedence here?
you never set a precedence at the ZBA because you're looking at each property and uniquely looking at that property, in that, unless you just start giving variances to everybody that's not unique, then you can start to erode away your ordinance. But generally, when you're looking at it and the criteria that you have in your ordinance, you're basing it on the specific property that you're making the decision and why you're making that decision, and not just saying they're good, they're good people and let's approve it. That's why you don't want to make those decisions. You want to base it in your criteria.
Oh, I would.
And I want to strongly restate that also. We're not setting a standard. Each, because we did it for this property, we're going to do it for another one. I believe I can speak for all of us that we look at these cases very seriously, case by case, and put a lot of thought and process into them.
But if somebody doesn't agree with our decision, they can take it to the court system.
Absolutely.
And they might say a precedent has been set too. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind.
Absolutely.
Was the Wetlands Act why this all started? Is that a state law? Is it a federal law, or are they just?
The regulation within the wetlands itself is state with Eagle. The township, when we adopted the updated ordinance in 2024, added the setback from the wetlands as a preservation measure. So there's quite a bit of additional attempt to protect wetlands, bodies of water. So we have like a shoreline protection strip now that we didn't have before, where you're needing to put native vegetation in along your shoreline to help for water quality and runoff. So some of those items were implemented in this update to the ordinance in 2024. So the setback, that 50-foot setback from the wetlands, that is new.
Okay.
And that's why you probably haven't seen any applications before, because we didn't have that setback requirement. And we don't regulate in the wetlands. So if somebody wanted to fill the wetland and build previously, they didn't need to come to you.
Sarah, is this ordinance ours only, or is there other townships in the area that are doing it? Milton Township or?
Yeah, Milton has shoreline. I can't remember for wetlands. It is something that we see in a lot of the ordinances, not all of them. We have seen increased interest because of development pressures to protect the natural features, the wetlands, steep slopes, water, by adding buffers or regulations to them, just generally in northern Michigan. Because I can tell you in a lot of the communities that I work in, it's the same conversation, and how can we protect the natural features that we have, especially because the easy properties have all been bought and built on. So we are left with, in a lot of situations, difficult properties that are unique that have those. So I've seen just in the last 10 years transition to try to add in those shoreline protections, wetland protections in zoning ordinances.
We all good?
That's
So,
Okay.
Then So we're still with that this criteria has been met.
Correct.
C. Okay. All right, criteria D, the problem and resulting need for the variance has been created by strict compliance with the zoning ordinance, not by the applicant or the applicant's predecessors. And here, so,
Are we sharing our facts?
sure.
Well, the wetlands are a pre-existing condition
Yeah.
or a feature on the property. I don't know how we want to word it.
I got that at the end of this. Do you want it to be its own?
I think so. Only because one, I think, was what I was debating a lot last time, so trying to move from that.
I think the number one, what I had said, there have been no improvements made to the property. Ended up being written as, this is a vacant lot.
Yeah, like pre-exist, like as it.
Like a structure on the lot that.
Okay,
that-
yep, I like that. Yeah,
That's better.
there are no improvements or structures. Probably made or there are no improvements, structures existing or made on the property or something, I don't know.
Do you like one?
Okay. So, yeah, I think the problem has not been self-created as sort of our determination at this point, not one of our findings of fact.
And the wetlands are natural. Yeah,
Yeah, wetlands are a natural
I
pre-existing.
think another finding of fact, we have to address that there's a culvert on the property. Did anybody come up with something around that?
I did.
What did you have? I wrote wetlands and culvert, so I didn't make it into a
Okay.
nice sentence.
Well, my thoughts were, the culvert is there to manage the flow of existing water drainage. It's not a structure that has used up a portion of the building envelope. It's not, I don't think it's it's not a structure. It's not, managing the water is not a self-created problem. It's trying to, it doesn't prevent. And if anybody, I mean, this goes back to my feeling that this should not restrict,
It's not self-made.
it's not self-made. And even if you didn't have the culvert there, that's not to say the water would just wash the roadway like it used to, I guess, and spread out maybe over more properties than just theirs. But
So would we just say that the culvert's there to,
I say the culvert is there to manage the flow of existing water drainage. It's not a structure, I say it's not a structure that has used a portion of the building envelope. It doesn't affect our determination of
That's true.
setbacks and dimensional variances.
right, that should be noted because it's not affecting their setbacks.
So the culvert,
The culvert is there to manage the flow of existing water drainage.
Not a structure that
How did you,
impedes the building envelope, or maybe
Yeah.
that's not the right, impacts
It's
the
not a-
building envelope?
a structure, it's not a structure and does not impact the building envelope.
That'd be a true
The
statement.
setback lines or the building envelope.
Yeah, that's-
Did I capture that in number 3?
I think it does.
Yeah. Anybody else have findings for this one?
No.
No? Okay, then, voice vote, do we agree that this criteria has been met?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay. Then I think we move on to 728, reopening the public hearing. Um, And at this time, I would like to make a motion to approve ZBA 2026-01, request for a 50-foot front yard variance to construct a single-family dwelling in the required 50-foot wetland setback applicable to primary structure only, as shown on the site plan presented at this meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion?
What, one, I have a question, clearing up my mind. What did we decide on that sauna and hot tub?
That's
whatever?
why I put in, I'm leaving out the sauna, that they don't, that the
So-
setback is only applicable to the primary structure. Can I do that?
You can do that.
Okay.
So when we said, so that was my question too, because on that one, on criteria B,
Mm-hmm.
so it can still be met even though we're saying,
Mhm.
even though that's one of the finding of the facts?
Yeah, because you're going to basically
Take
not
that out.
approve it.
We're not
Okay.
approving it for the sauna, we're only approving it for the primary structure.
Okay, I
Okay.
want to make sure of that. I thought so.
And then with that then is, because they have the, is that, because they have that boardwalk that goes out, right? So is it just what juts to the north where the
Well,
proposed boardwalk that way?
so they can put a boardwalk
Boardwalk.
across the wetlands, there's a certain, so
Right.
they're gonna have to stay with their boardwalk with the 4-foot wide, that's in the ordinance, they're not getting.
But so no sauna, no concrete pad, nothing to the north, no,
Right, no structures
okay. That, thank you, I need to verify that.
in that area. But whatever, in terms of boardwalks,
Right, within our,
the
what,
Eagle and our ordinance allows,
Yep.
they can do.
I understand that. I missed it though. Who seconded this?
David seconded it.
Okay.
Kristen, do you want
Uh,
to do, any other discussion on
No. not here.
the motion? Okay, Kristen, will you do a roll call vote?
Okay, roll call vote. Jeff,
Yes.
Chad,
No.
Dave,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes,
Kristen. No.
okay. Motion passes 3-2. Thank you, everybody, for your passionate conversation and interest in this case. And I guess now we move on to any other public comment. Okay, Sarah.
We do have a case for the April 15th meeting. I think I emailed that to you, but don't remember now. I heard back from the applicant from the other case, and he had a death in the family and understandably missed the meeting. He did ask and request to be put on the next agenda, so I've noticed it for the 15th. And so I don't remember, I think I've heard from everybody, and everybody can be here on the 15th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a regular meeting night. So,
Okay,
yeah, I'll have a packet, and we had that application and everything already in a packet, so I'll just be putting minutes in it in an agenda.
minutes in a new agenda, right? Okay,
Yeah, everything else. I might have received a public comment or two, but the packet, the application packet staff report is the same that we had last meeting.
So there's
Okay.
no additional anything. Okay.
okay, great. All right, well, I would like to thank everybody for being here. And thank
you
the
for
board for
coming.
their
Your
hard
spring
work.
break.
And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Is that Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we're all
All,
in favor.
yes, okay.